So it's
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry,
Okay, go ahead.
Muthukrishnan.
Oh, no problem. I didn't realize that I am the one who has known him the longest. But anyway, when I joined, he was already quite a senior person at IISc. And I think he was the most cheerful person in the whole department, I would say. You know, when you walked into his room or in the hallway, he always greeted you with a smile and small chats, serious chats, everything. And I know there is a lot of background noise from my home, so I'm going to cut it short simply by saying that I consider that a privilege to have known him. And then he was a great human being and a wonderful scientist. And we are all blessed because we knew him. Take care. I'm going to unmute for the time being.
okay. For those who are not talking, please mute yourself. Only the person who's talking, plus keep it on so that there won't be any disturbance.
Yeah.
Okay, Meena, you want to share your memories?
Sure. Doesn't Timapayal know him longer than I do?
I think Ranganathan knows him more probably. Timapaya and Ranganathan.
Timapaya, you want to go?
Yeah, me and Rama have been in a regular interaction with him for over 40 years. And I believe Aithal is distantly related to Rama, and of course, Lakshmi as well. And, you know, we have had dinners with him in his house for numerous times. We met so many people that we did not know before, that also in his house. And every one of them, every one of those events is fresh in our minds. It is unerasable. As you all know, he makes a lasting impression on everyone. A kind, very humorous, and intellectually very deep in Kannada literature and writing and talking about it, etc. So sad he passed away, but also he lived 90 full years. Last year he came here, isn't it?
Yeah, year before. Yeah.
Year before he came here.
We were
And every time he visits, many times he stayed with us. And what else to say? I can go on and on, but this is not the good time to talk everything about it. I'm sorry.
I just want to say a couple
Ramesh,
of
you
words.
are,
This is Harish Kumar, and I just want to say a few
yeah,
words
Harish,
about
my God.
my interaction with Dr. Aithal. You know, I had a very brief time with him while we were at the IISc of Science, but subsequently here in Southern California, we always met in all the, the SEMA concerts, the Kannada Sangha events, and many of them. He was always so pleasant and always so respectful of everybody. And I'll always, cherish the memories of the times I have spent with him. I just want to leave one last word of a philosophical thing, which I have enjoyed throughout my life, and particularly so during my retirement. Dr. Aithal is with us all the time. Nobody goes away. Just to give a little more about what I understand about the philosophy, the whole life is an interaction between the unchanging and the changing world, which is the Purusha and the Prakriti, just the two names that is given. The Purusha is the one that never changes, like the screen in a movie. And the Prakriti is the one that constantly changes, like the projection on that. Both are required for us to experience what we are experiencing now, which is also the presence of Dr. Aithal. Nobody goes away. They stay wherever they are. And we experience their presence through all the wonderful words and the interactions we have with each other. With that, I'm going to leave it, and then it's a celebration to remember Dr. Aithal.
Thank you, Harish.
Hello, this is Ranganathan. Okay. When I joined Ram Sharma's lab, Aithal was working there as a scientist in Dr. Ram Sharma's defense research scheme. And he was a very friendly person. And I used to ask him about his name. Said, my last name is Aithal, but my actual name is Nagappa. Then from next day, when I greet him in the morning, I used to say, good morning, Dr. Nagappa. Then you'll say, good morning, Dr. Rangappa. He was a very jovial person. And then I met him in Chicago. I think I sent a picture earlier. I don't know whether it's Aithal's house or Krishnaya's house. I remember it was in Oak Park. And that's the last time I met Aithal. He was a wonderful person.
Thank you, Ranganathan.
Ramesh,
Yes.
just one thing. There is Nalini who has known Aithal the longest period. Maybe we should, if you don't mind, we should ask her to first talk.
Sure.
I forgot about it.
Okay, Nalini, you have to unmute.
Unmute.
Nalini, you have to-
Okay, ಇವಾಗ ಕೇಳ್ತೇನಾ?
recording.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Recording.
ತಿಮ್ಮಪ್ಪಯ್ಯ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ದಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಬಹಳ ದೀರ್ಘಕಾಲದ ಒಂದು ಸಂಬಂಧ ಕೂಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವಿಕೆ. ನಾನು ಅವ್ರ
Can you
ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು
please-
ಕವನ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
Nalini, can you switch over to English, please? Where many of us here don't know.
Okay, okay.
The Kavana, you can read it in Kannada.
Okay, I will first speak in English. You know, Aithal had a very good sense of humor, as you all know. So he had his own nickname for all the cities in America. So Houston is Hastinavati, okay, and Montreal is Mantralaya. New York is Navanaraka. Another thing is he had this funny interactions with children. He would say, do you want a pet? And the child would say yes. Then he would hit him. Pettu means spanking in Kannada. So he would give him a pettu. As you know, it's shamelessly another. You have to say, I'm fed up, thank you. And then he would tell us how we have to respond. So all this sense of humor and zest for life. He never was the person who would sit idly in a corner. He was on the go. He loved music. He loved literature. He wanted to go in the drama. He wanted to play Ispit. He wanted to have parties. I mean, he lived his life to the fullest. And he is an inspiration to all of us. He's a wonderful human being. And I'm so fortunate to have had him interact with me in this life. And I will always be grateful for that opportunity. And I will read one poem I wrote about him in Kannada. I know a lot of you don't understand, but my main expression is in Kannada. So I'll try to translate a little bit as I go along, okay? 1 minute. So the title is called Ahitanalarige, means his pen name was Ahitanala. Actually, Aithal came from the word Ahitanala. Ahitanala means the one who gave sacrifices to the yajna, fire of the yajna. So that's why he called himself Ahitanala. That was his pen name. So ಗೆಳೆಯನಾಗಿ ಬಂಧುವಾಗಿ ಗುರು ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶಿಯಾಗಿ ಯಾವ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರಿ. You came into my life in so many different ways, as a friend, as a relative, as a guru, as a guide. ಕಷ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರವಾಗಿ, ಬಿಸಿಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರಳಾಗಿ, ಇಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟ ಕವಿತೆ ಹಾಡು ಒಟ್ಟೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಕೇಳಿ ನಲಿದು ಎಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ರಸ ವೈಭವ ತಂದಿರಿ. He helped during difficult hard times. ಬಿಸಿಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರಳು, I mean, he was the shadow during for the sun. And we always love to listened to music and poems together. So he brought all this rasa vaibhava. Rasa means the essence of art, the beauty of the art. He brought it to our life. Marayaladite nimma, can we ever forget you? Nimma naliva, nimma valava, nimma vishwasava. Your love, your happiness, your affection. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಡನಾಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹವಾಸದ ಸೊಗಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಏರಿತ್ತು ಸಂಗೀತದ ಅಮಲು, ಅಡರಿತ್ತು ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯದ ಘಮಲು, ತನು ಮನಗಳ ತಣಿಸಿದ್ದವು ಭೋಜನ ಕೂಟಗಳು. In your interaction, there was amalu of Sangeeta, the intoxication of Sangeeta, ghamalu of Sahitya, the essence, the fragrance of Sahitya. And then, of course, there was Bhojana Kuta. Of course, Lakshmi is the force behind it. There was a lot of Bhojana Kutagalu. ನಾಟಕದ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸು, ಹರಟೆಗಳ ಟೈಮ್ ಪಾಸು, ಮಜ ತುಂಬಿದ ರಂಗೇರಿದ ಇಸ್ಪೀಟು ಆಟಗಳು. There was practice of drama and ಹರಟೆ and all those. ಎಲ್ಲದರ ಹಿಂದಿತ್ತು ಐತಾಳರ ಛಾಪು. There was the mark of Aithal behind everything. Chicago Bhojaraja stamp. I always called him Chicago's Bhojaraja. And so he had the stamp of Chicago Bhojaraja was there. ನೆನಪುಂಟು ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೋಕು, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರ್ಯಾಂಕು. Do you want pet ಎಂದು ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳುತ್ತಾ ಪೆಟ್ಟು ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ತುಂಟ ಕಿರುನಗೆ. He would mischievously spank the child after the child says, yes, I want a pet. Eat shamelessly ಎನ್ನುತ್ತಾ ತಟ್ಟೆಗಿಷ್ಟು ಬಡಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಆತಿಥ್ಯವ ಮೆರೆದ ಬಗೆ. ಅಳೆಯಬಹುದೇ ಮಾತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಥ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಬೆಲೆಯ, ಕಳೆಯಬಹುದೇ ನೆನಪೆಲ್ಲ ಕಳೆದಂತೆ ಸಮಯ. Can you ever measure such a love in just talk? And can we ever forget such a beautiful life? ಮನದಲ್ಲೇ ಬೆಂದೇವು, ಕಣ್ಣು ತೇವಗೊಂಡಾವು. We feel the pain in our heart and our eyes become wet. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪುಣ್ಯ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಧನ್ಯತೆಯ ಭಾವದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಂದೇವು, ನೆಂದೇವು, ಪುಳಕಿತರಾದೆವು. In your memory, we middev means in Kannada it says we shower with your memory, and nendevu we soak in your memory. And pulakitaradevu, pulakita is a Sanskrit word, I think you all know, right? Pulakita means
Get inspired.
Yeah. ಅಲ್ಲಿದೆ ನನ್ನ ಮನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದೆ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಎಂದೆನ್ನುತ್ತಾ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲೋ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರಿ. ಇದ್ದ ಮನೆಯ ಬಿಟ್ಟರು, ಪಯಣ ಹೊರಟು ಬಿಟ್ಟರು, ಮನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ನಿಂತೇ ಬಿಟ್ರಿ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಹೃದಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ಎಂದೆಂದಿಗೂ ಇರುವಿರಿ ಬಿಡದೆ ಈ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಎಂದಿಗೂ ನೀವಿರುವಿರಿ ಬಿಡದೆ ಈ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿದೆ ನನ್ನ ಮನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದೆ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ is ದಾಸ music. It means my house is there, I just came here. So you said like that and you just left. Although you left your house, you made a house in our heart, and you will never leave this house, our heart. That's the point. Thank you. Thank you.
Nani Auntie, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. It really means a lot. Amma probably understood a lot more than I did, but the meaning and the heartfelt emotion that you poured into your poetry was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ನಳಿನಿ ಅವರೇ. ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಪದ್ಯ, ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಕವನ.
Thank you.
Very heartfelt.
So I'd like to say that K.N. Subramaniam is online.
Yeah,
So
we should
maybe
ask
he
him.
would also like to say a few words.
And before Kiranur speaks, I just want to draw everybody's attention to Arvind's screen. If you look at the back of the screen, there's a picture of a very young Dr. Aithal. That's the way he's going to be remembered by many. Thank you, Arvind, for that.
Arvind's frame is say iPhone. iPhone is Arvind's frame.
Yeah, that's the frame behind it. You can see Dr. Aithal in that.
Is K.N. Subramaniam going to say something?
Yeah. Thank you for including me in this, and I'm sorry to join late in this meeting, but I just made it. And thanks to Muthukrishnan also for sending me the link again and things like that. I was looking for the link and I could not find it. So anyway, Aithal, what can I say? I mean, he was a great friend. He was a great friend and such a helpful man. And when we came first to Chicago in 1976 with my family, myself, my wife Lakshmi, and also our young daughter Uma, and they put us up in their house, Aithal and Lakshmi, for a few days, and we stayed with them in their apartment on Lake Street in Oak Park. I remember that so well, and things like that. And our daughter was not doing well at that time. She had some stomach issues and things like that. And but she liked Thai sadam, the yogurt rice. And I remember that Aithal still asks whenever he sees Uma that do you want yogurt rice? So things like that. Aithal was so helpful and such a man of humility and was so personable. And after you meet him and talk to him, you always come back with a great feeling after that. So, and he also had a great sense of humor, and I'm sure a lot of you have mentioned the kind of jokes that he used to say and things like that. And most recently, of course, we have been in touch with them off and on after they moved to California. So, and then I saw them. I saw both Aithal and Lakshmi in their niece, in Aithal's niece's house in Glen Ellyn about a few months ago. And it was so nice to see them over there. And it was a second floor apartment. And they were able to actually even walk up. He was using a walking stick actually. And he was talking about his eye problem and how he cannot see with one eye and the other eye also vision is going down. Otherwise they both seem to be doing fine, and he was doing fine also. And we had really a great time talking to them and things like that. And so it was wonderful to have seen them last year. And we wanted to go and see them after that. And and this happened in the meantime. So so I mean, we miss him so much. We miss him so much. So, and so nice to see him and talk to him and get all the good feeling from that. And all I can say is that we are very sorry that we miss him. Okay, so
Thank you, Subramanian uncle.
you're welcome. Yeah, and how are you doing, Lakshmi?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice
I
to
know that my wife Lakshmi spoke with you a few days ago, but I wanted to talk also. I will call some other time and we will certainly come and see you sometime, so, and take care in the meantime. And so nice of Anuradha, so I hear so much about her, how she used to come every weekend and, help you guys out and things like that, because I know he could not drive after the vision problem, and you have never driven before, things like that. And, so I'm sure, sorry, I mean, we really saw so much, like, hello?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So who
Somebody-
wants to go next?
I can go next.
Mrinalini, yeah.
Yeah, so there's so much been said about Dr. Aithal that I'm sitting here thinking of what else can I add to this incredible story of this incredible man. And when I was thinking about it this morning, thinking of Dr. Aithal is like thinking of a lotus bud. As each time you open one layer of petals of the lotus bud, you see something new and different and beautiful. And that's Dr. Aithal. He was a multifaceted personality. So I first met him, I know exactly the spot where I met him, at the corner of Ellis and 58th Street in Ellis at the University of Chicago, in front of the bookstore. And I was looking at the bookstore window. It was about 3 months after I'd moved to Chicago as a postdoc at the University of Chicago. And this tall gentleman approaches me and he says, are you from, I noticed that your name was Rao. Are you from Andhra? And I said, no, I'm from Bangalore. And it was like this light bulb lit up. It's Bangalore. And then the story unraveled, right? So again, there are lots of people who wanted to say lots of things about Dr. Aithal. So I'm going to give you some really unique vignettes of him. So this story unraveled, then like every good Indian, we had to put our coordinates together. Who do you know? Who do you not know? Then we made the institute connection. I just had 1 year at the institute in the diploma course. So we had not overlapped, but we obviously knew a lot of people. He knew Dr. Adiga, who had been my advisor, and there started a beautiful relationship. Fast forward many years, and we moved to Oak Park within walking distance of Dr. Aithal's house. Our son was 6 years old, and guess who was one of his first babysitters? Anuradha. She would come over, she would ban my husband, Ralph, who's sitting behind me, and me from the family room, and she had popcorn movie nights. Remember, we could get video cassettes, right? So she would rent the video cassettes, bring popcorn, and they'd have popcorn movie nights. And of course, we got fed in the Aithal's house multiple times. Fast forward a little bit more, and my daughter was born, and Mrs. Aithal was, as usual, very solicitous. I remember walking over with a little baby when she was like 3 weeks old, and one of Mrs. Aithal's cousins was visiting from India, and he says, "Ayyo, banantana madlilva, alinda bandidiri, you should not have walked in this in this weather," and so on. And then after that, my mother-in-law had built a doll's house for my daughter. They lived in Maryland. And where do you store this dollhouse so that the child is not going to see it till Christmas? Aithal's house, of course. So the Aithals accommodated this dollhouse in their living room for I don't know how many months. And the stories go on and on about he was just an incredible friend, but more than that, he was a great scientist. He worked on the kidney. I worked on the GI tract, and every gastroenterologist thinks that the kidney is a bridged GI tract, and every kidney person thinks that the GI tract is an abridged kidney. And we'd have these arguments about it, but he would be genuinely interested in what your experiments were telling you. He would motivate you. He was a great supporter of women, of women's issues, of women's, he would organize these local science meetings. I remember Sushil Tiwari was remember that conference he organized, and he and Ghanshyam Pandey would put this thing together, and they'd persuade local somebody or the other to help us with the food and stuff. And it was a great showcasing and networking. And then after they moved to California, almost every time when they came, Dr. and Mrs. Aithal would call us and say, "We're coming into town." And we were blessed to be able to see when Alex, their grandson, came to the University of Chicago. And then we met with them, and like Kiranur, in their last visit, we were able to visit with them again. And he was just an incredible friend, a wonderful human being. And we're just blessed to have him in our lives. So thank you so much, Arvind and Lakshmi and Anuradha. Thank you so much for including us in your lives.
Thank you, Meena.
Thank you also, Meena, for being our friend and being so welcoming whenever we come to Chicago.
Oh, you're always welcome. You know the address.
Can I say a couple more things?
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to add that I thought a lot of things have been said about his being multifaceted, and a couple of things that he did, I remember now, and he was very involved in among other things, he was also very involved in community activities. And he was first vice president and then president of this association called AIA, Association of Indians in America. And there was another association for Indians called FIA, and this is not connected to that. It's a different one. And they used to have meetings and stuff like that. And he was also connected with one more organization called Association of Scientists of Indian Origin in America, ASIOA. And I remember this so well. I don't know if that organization is still there, but this is in the 1980s or so. Okay, so, and then he and people who were running that organization, they were organizing scientific meetings almost every year for a few years. And I remember taking part in that and making presentations, of our research and stuff like that. And it was so nice to see all the scientists in this area, in the Chicago area, presenting their work in the organization like that. So we certainly were involved with him in that organization and stuff. And with a lot of happiness, I remember some of these things that he was doing. And the people also mentioned all the family gatherings and things like that, which was they were very happy occasions, taking part in the family gatherings. And, it's all this wonderful associations, meetings and stuff like that, taking part with him. I remember those things also, so we miss him. We miss him a lot.
I just want to add one final thing about the lotus analogy.
Okay.
That is, in 2000, I forget what year was it, 2004 or something, Dr. and Mrs. Aithal were visiting us, and we were sitting out on our deck. And for some reason, Dr. Aithal was asking me about my father. Now, he had met my father a few years before that. They'd had a wonderful conversation. This was when Dr. Aithal was busy trying to raise money to set up a chair in Kannada studies at the University of Iowa. And we had lots of interesting discussions around that. It never happened. But after my father passed away in 2000, in 2004, we were having this conversation, and my Aithal was asking me about my father's career. And I said, oh, he taught at St. Joseph's College. And there was another aha moment in Dr. Aithal's face, and he realized that my father was his mathematics professor. My father had changed over the years. He'd lost his hair, et cetera, et cetera. So Aithal never recognized him when he had met him. But after he passed away, he realized that he was, and then he recalled all these stories about my father teaching him mathematics. So it was such a small world, but it was just his nature of wanting to network. And now I'll stop with my vignettes.
Thank you, Meena. CK, you want to go?
Sure. I just want to say, behind every successful man, there is a strong woman. And I cannot think of any better partner for Dr. Aithal than Srimati Lakshmi Aithal, because he was outgoing and involved in so many activities, but she gave him 110% support. I don't know how she did it. She worked, she managed the family, and she was such a grand hostess, generous hostess. So to all the people who came from India, who were very, very brand new, like myself, they even hosted a baby shower party for my wife when we were expecting our child, and at their home. And their generosity is really touching. And so I think I would say 50% of the credit of what Dr. Aithal achieved in life goes to Mrs. Aithal. Thank you, Lakshmi Aure. I mean, you are the heart and soul of the family. And we always admired your calm, your generosity, and your pleasant nature. And because sometimes Dr. Aithal would be like a little child. He would just go off and make jokes and this and that. But you were the strong pillar, and you held the family together, and through your own struggles. And I really admire you as much as I admire Dr. Aithal. Everyone has said the same thing. Dr. Aithal was full of life. He had a great sense of humor. I will just give you one example which always sticks out. There were many, many more. Whenever I went to his lab, he always had a funny name for his colleagues. Dr. Tobak, who was the professor whose lab he was associated with, was Tambakaya, because he called him tobacco, but in Kannada it is Tambako. So Tambakaya. And the chief of nephrology was Dr. Cole, who was into nephrolithiasis research, and he became Kolanna. So it's a kolu, kolanna, kole. And, so there was always, it's a funny twist to all the things that were going on. So it was hard to dissociate that from the serious scientist he was. So for me, I always saw the funny side of Aithal. So being a Kannada person, we shared many things in Kannada literature. I gave him a book of my poems. It is in Kannada, so many people may not understand, but if there is time, I would like to read it because that kind of summarizes my interaction with the Aithal family and friends in Chicago. One joke was, we had a friend, his name was Srinivas Bhatt, probably many people know him. He was a very close friend of Dr. Aithal's, and he moved from Chicago to LA. And he had been gone just a week, and then he called Dr. Aithal and said, so what is new in Chicago? And Dr. Aithal was reading the Chicago Tribune, and one of the stories they were covering was crime in Chicago. And they reported that it had gone down by 10% compared to last year. So he said, ನೀವು Chicago ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ crime 10% ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. So the way he said it, after you left Chicago, Chicago crime has gone down by 10%. I know that was the association, it was such a beautiful piece of humor. I always remember him more than anything else for his humor. So Lakshmi, I just want to read this poem that I wrote. This was a long time ago. This is called Chicago Nenepu, Memory of Chicago. It is in Kannada. If I translate it, probably I'll just mess it up. But anyway, I'll try. ಕೂಗಿ ಊಳಿಡುವ ಕುಳಿರ್ಗಾಳಿ, ರಕ್ತ ಹೆಪ್ಪುಗಟ್ಟಿಸುವ ಚಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆತ್ತಿ ಕೊರೆಯುತ್ತಿಹ ಹಿಮವ ಒರೆಸಿ ಗೆಳೆಯರ ಮನೆಯ ಬಾಗಿಲು ತೆರೆದಾಗ ಬಿಸಿಬೇಳೆ ಹುಳಿಯನ್ನದ ಘಮ ಮೂಗಿಗೆ ತೇಲಿ ಬಂತು. ಇಂಗು ತೆಂಗಿನೊಡೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ನುಡಿ ಬೆರೆತು ನವಿರು ಹಾಸ್ಯದ ಹೊನಲು ಹರಿದಿತ್ತು. ನೆಲದ ಮೇಲೆ ಚೌಕ ಹಾಸಿ ಮಿತ್ರರೊಡನೆ ಹರಟೆ ಕೊಚ್ಚಿ ರಾಜ ರಾಣಿ ಎಕ್ಕ ಎಂದಾಗ ಪರದೇಶಿ ನಾನೆಂಬ ಭೂತ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು. ಆ ಗೆಳೆತನವ ಬುತ್ತಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಹಳೆಯ ನೆನಪ ಮೆಲುಕು ಹಾಕಿ ಬೇರೆ ಊರಿಗೆ ವರ್ಗವಾದಾಗ ಮತ್ತೆಂದು ಬರುವುದೋ ಆ ಕಾಲ ಅನಿಸಿತ್ತು. So this is when we moved out of Chicago to Dallas. I remembered all the good times we had with Dr. Aithal and his family and all the friends he introduced us, and made it a new home away from home for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, CK.
Very nice poem. Thank you, Manjunath.
ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್ ಅವ್ರ ಮಧುಮತಿ ಇಲ್ವಾ?
ಮಧು ಇಂಡಿಯಾಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾಳೆ.
ಓಹೋ, ಹೌದಾ?
ಈಗ ಅವ್ರ ಫಾದರ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ರು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್. ಸೊ ಇದು 1 ವರ್ಷದ್ದು ವೈದಿಕ. ಸೊ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬಂದು ಈಗ 29th ವಾಪಸ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಹೌದಾ? ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು.
ಹೌದು ಹೌದು. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲೂ ಈಗ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಇದೀವಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಲಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ನಿಮ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಓದಿದೆ ನಾನು, ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ.
ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂತೋಷ. ಸೊ ಅರವಿಂದ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅನುರಾಧ ನೋಡಿ ಬಹಳ ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು. ಐ ಕೇಮ್ ಟು ಯುವರ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಅನುರಾಧ ಒನ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇನ್ LA. ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಗೋ.
ನೀವು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದ ಬುಕ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ ಇದೆ.
ಹೌದಾ?
ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ವರ್ಷವಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ನೆನ್ಪು ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತೀನಿ.
ಹೌದು,
ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ರೂಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬುಕ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡರ್ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್.
Yeah, let me say a few things about Aithal, because I don't have too much to say, but you all have said everything. But when I joined Professor Ram Sharma's lab, I was the junior most and Aithal was the senior most there. And we had several people in between. After Aithal, I think Inamdar, and then K.V. Krishnaya, then Ranganathan, then Susila and me. So we were all there in the lab. He senior most, me junior most. And we had some interaction for about 3 or 4 months. After that, then he came back to India after a year or so. At that time, I got used to the lab and everything also. And then, we spent almost 2 or 3 hours, he spent with me and Ranganathan and all that. He was sharing his experiences in Chicago, and it was very nice to hear from him, all his experiences. It was wonderful to, talk to him at that time. He was a very nice person, and as you all expressed, if you talk to him, you'll definitely start liking him very much because he's so friendly and very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Subra. Chandru, you said you will share some of your memories. Unmute, please unmute.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My meeting with Dr. Aithal also, as CK mentioned, was in Chicago. I was in Chicago in Kirnur Subramaniam's lab. Nice to see Kirnur on this video. From 83 to 87, I met him few times and visited their home and all that. But I was in University of Chicago from 87 to 90. In the section of hematology and oncology, and he was in nephrology. So I used to see him so often. Anytime, for no reason, I would just walk into his lab and just chat for a few minutes. And even though we were, age difference of 2 decades or so, but I never felt that. I always felt like he's a friend of mine. Anytime I could feel like I could go. And he has a lab which was kind of isolated in a sense. He was the only one in the lab, so we were not disturbing anyone in that sense. His desk and the lab were there. So that was really memorable for me. And as everyone has mentioned his friendliness, his humor, and his characters are unbelievable. I want to mention one thing which probably not many have touched. After his retirement with the difficulties with the vision and all, he started a new career, which is he has made an amazing contribution to that. He's a founding member of what's called Kannada Sahitya Ranga. It's a Kannada Literary Association. They started just about 20 years ago. Every 2 years in the spring, they get together. Kannada people who are interested in Kannada will get together in a city in USA. And for that, they will bring forth a volume of book on a certain topic. They would choose, for instance, they brought out this April, the 10th version of it, 10th edition, because every 2 years they bring. This one is on the American folklore in the eyes of Kannada people. Like this, they have brought up every 2 years a book. And he was a chairperson. He was chairperson until 2 months back for this Kannada for the board of directors, and he has been a member since the founding of this organization. And more importantly, in every one of those 10 volumes, he has contributed an article, and he was an editor or a advisor to those articles. And also, he has, on his own, he has written 9 books, 2 novels, 2 short story collections, 2 collection of essays, and 2 collections on his personal experience. One of his biography. It's the title is like from the pages from the diary of an American Kannadiga. So one book he wrote was on science, which is on the molecular biology book. It's he titled Jivana Rahasya, The Secret of Life. And he wrote this book in Kannada. And it tells his zeal for the language and his interest and his dedication. And he asked me to write forward for this book. I wrote forward. I mean, now, not many read in Kannada, although I studied in high school Kannada medium, but not many, even in villages, everyone wants to start their schooling in English medium. So one thing I wanted to mention is that he has kind of invented so many new words in Kannada. For instance, for replication, for nature, denaturation, renaturation, and then inversion mutation, deletion mutation. He has his own Kannada words, and it's an amazing book. He hopes that it is I was asking him, why do you want to write it in Kannada? And then he said it will be for high school students and those common man who wants to learn about, because who doesn't want to know about, life in terms of what their biology and genetics. So those who want to learn about it, it's like a brief introduction to them. So it's an amazing contribution, and he has done since his retirement, despite his eye issues. Although I didn't get to interact with him much, although I attended a couple of these meetings, those that happen every 2 to 3 years. They would bring, it's more like a research on a particular topic, as I said, on the folklore. And then they would invite a writer or expert on that topic and bring them over for this meeting in the spring. And then I got to meet a lot of those dignitaries and literary experts in the field. And I know his humor is well known. He said one of the reasons why he chose to write this foreword for this book is that we all from Tata Institute. And so Tata means grandfather, of course, in Kannada and any other language. So we all from the same place, even though we are not at the same time in the school. I just want to end this. I was in LA to attend a human genetics meeting on the week of 25th to 30th. And I happened to reconnect with a classmate of mine. His name is G.K. Suryaprakash. 50 years I had lost touch with him. He's a tall figure in chemistry. He has been in University of Southern California. His boss got Nobel Prize, and he got $1 million prize for his chemistry. His contribution to chemistry and the carbon dioxide fixation is very well known. And he said he wrote an article in Kannada on one of the on his topic once, and I mentioned about Aithal. Oh, he said, "Oh, Aithal, I know very well." That wherever there is a Kannada program, Surya Prakash is the one in charge of making coffee, and Aithal always greeted him, Surya Prakash, is Mysore coffee ready in Kannada. So he left humor wherever he went. He touched so many people. So I know the Kannada group, Aithal and Lakshmi were known as Amitabh Bachchan and Jay Badri, and he has made a towering contribution for Kannada literature. And I would like to thank Mrs. Aithal, Anuradha, and Arvind for sharing Dr. Aithal with me and so many of us whom he has humored and who remember him forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chandra. Shashidhar Rao, you want to say a few words? You can unmute, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It is nice to see you all, and most importantly, it is very nice to see Mrs. Lakshmi and Anuradha. We have never seen, at least I don't remember seeing her earlier. It's good to see you, Anuradha. I remember Arvind from his marriage time. But anyway, I'll let first Nanda say a few words, and then I will add a couple of things at the end.
What can I say? The others have said what I said. I think Manjunath had this beautiful poem about you go into the house. I mean, that I remember that as we had gone there. We were in our late 20s and late 30s when we saw them, and to be able to see them, to see his vibrancy, to see Lakshmi, somehow the thought that we were going to live in this country forever became palatable, that I could even bear to think about it, because I saw them and I got that feeling of comfort from seeing them. That's just one thing, but I'll let Shashi talk, and then maybe I'll tell you one joke from him, which I always remember, which is always ringing in my head. So let Shashi speak.
Yeah. My association, I mean, our association with Aithal and his family became pretty deep and very friendly and all during the time when I became when I was kind of coerced into becoming the president of Kannada Association in Chicago. Those days it was very difficult to find people who to volunteer to do that job, and he was trying to corner me for a few years, and then finally I told him that voluntarily I will do it in 1995, and so and he was very encouraging. I can never forget the guiding principles that he helped me with in that connection. He certainly because of the association we had with him, we got introduced to various aspects of the literature, poetry, etc. I'm not much into that, but I was certainly able to appreciate the beauty about all those things, particularly as it related to Kannada language. Of course, everybody remembers Aithal for his jokes, and one thing I was hoping somebody might say in this group, but not yet, so I'll say it. When we first met him, a few of our friends were there, and they said, one of them said, and I cannot remember who it was, maybe it was Prasannamurthy. He said, "Uddudukku addabidde." So this say, because Dr. Aithal was a very tall, very towering personality. So he said that's why we say that addabidde is, of course, as you know, you do sashtang namaskara. So uddudukku. So that kind of humor, he appreciated that, and of course the various jokes, and he had this he had this very interesting way of a very intimate way of greeting me once in a while. He would call me up early in the morning and say, "May I speak to President Rao?" So the first time he said that, I didn't I was not quite figuring out who is he calling president. So but anyway, that was just after I was made as the president of Kannada Association. But anyway, I don't have a whole lot to add to many things, many wonderful things that have been already said here. But I think one thing I would say, that if I were to introduce, if I were had a chance to introduce Dr. Aithal to an audience, I would simply go up and stand there and say, "This is Aithal." That's it. That was all that needed to be said. So go ahead. So.
Yeah. So okay. So his the way he would you go to him. He's there in a room. You are guaranteed one thing. There were going to be everybody was going to be laughing. So you go in prepared for ha ha ha. Ready for that. Always a great guy, and that's how I want to remember him as. So we had heard that they had their grandchild, the first grandson, and it was some months since I had seen him. So he was there in the hall somewhere, some Kannada Sangha something, and I went over to say congratulations. And of course, he knew why I was coming to him. He was completely aware. So he said, Nanda, one helbittini. I'll tell you one thing, something terrible happened to me. And I knew something was coming. I said, "Okay, what happened to you?" And he says, with full of drama, my wife left me for a younger man. It's not laughing. Of course, we had heard that Lakshmi had gone over to take care of the young grandson. And so that was a drama he had to play. And I knew he was going to say that, but the delivery of that sentence was so funny. Everybody around him started laughing. I'm sure they had heard that joke before, but every time he said it, you can't help but you just burst out laughing. We had such a wonderful time. That's how I want to remember him. Or Nagu.
Thank you, Nanda and Sister.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share some of their association memories with Aithal? If not, I will share a couple of mine. So I met Aithal in Chicago for the first time when I went there for a postdoc, and I invited some of us to his house. I went to his house. I was not married. I was alone. And while talking, he asked me, "Ramesh, do you know the difference between PhDs and MDs?" I think all of you must have heard that one. So I just, not knowing, I said, one is a medicine doctor, one is a science doctor. I said, no. You're still in the institute days. A MD is a money doctor and PhD is a poor, hungry doctor. That was the, his joke he has told many times, and many of us are familiar with that one. And also while talking to him, I realized that his Lakshmi's place is only 8 miles from my place, my village. And once he come to know, then he lit up and we started talking. You know him, you know that person, you know this person. Then I said, yes. Then he laughed and said, oh, you are a switchboard community. Switchboard community because we are in a place called Malnad, which is a lot of hills and all. And we bring and give people, marry people between different places. And so you take it from this place and put it there, take from this and put it there. So he always said, oh, you are a switchboard community people. So some of these jokes are very, very familiar to many of these things. Whenever he calls us, oh, Chakodwell switchboard, that's what he calls. Anyway, so, and also we had an opportunity to go to his house in LA with another literary person, Vaidehi. When she visited, he wanted to see him. So I went there and we had a wonderful time with him, Lakshmi, and we also met Anuradha at that time. And also when one of the Kannada Kutta function, Lakshmi and Aithal came and stayed with us. Then while all talking, then it looks like we are also, 4 degree separation related somehow. So that's all I wanted to say. As I said, many of these qualities already shared by everybody. He's a legend in many ways. One of the things very impressive was, I think many of you alluded to that one. He has the ability to interact with everybody with ease. With a 2-year-old, he's a 2-year-old. With a teenager, he's a teenager. With an adult, he's an adult. Elderly man is an elderly man. It's not just we interact. When you interact with one, the other party also feels very comfortable. And a 3-year-old talks to Aithal and he thinks he's a 3-year-old. And a 10-year-old teenager talks to him, they feel he's one of our own. So that's the kind of ease he would interact with people. I was very, very impressed with that quality, and many of us have that quality. So with a view, no inhibition, so easily he will mix and talk and have a conversation. As I said, very impressive.
Ramesha, there is one person from the younger generation who wants to say something. Chaya Rangraj, she was a family friend.
It's so nice to join all of you and to hear all of these stories about him. And certainly as a child being dragged to all of these FIA, AIA, Kannada Kutta meetings, literally dragged sometimes. Definitely a memory that we all have in my generation is uncle and auntie's warmth and smiling, joyful presence. And forever embedded in my mind is the image of him as a character in one of the plays that was presented in Kannada Kutta. And I think it was Shakuntala, am I wrong? Anu, is it Shakuntala that he was like a king or something? I don't remember. I remember him with a crown, the dhoti. You're muted. I cannot hear you.
You have to unmute Shakuntala, Anuradha.
Hello. Yeah, I think he was Kanwarishi in that play.
But I have that image forever in my mind of him walking across the stage with the staff and the crown and the dhoti and all. But it was a joyful presence to be in whenever we walked in as a child. I was definitely on the end of that, do you want a pet joke several times. I remember that very vividly. But people leave you with different impressions, and he always has left that joyous presence in my memory. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Chaya. And Arvind and Anuradha, you want to say a few things? Anuradha, you have to unmute.
Yeah, while she's unmuting. Yeah, if I can. So it's a group of scientists that we have. Thank you so much. I cathartic and very heartwarming to hear some of these wonderful stories. I obviously knew him as the father who would do the corny jokes over and over again, but in front of a group of esteemed scientists like we have right now, I don't know how this is going to come off, but the universe is very random. And things just happen in the universe, and scientists try to take that chaos and the randomness of the universe, and they try to give it meaning and maybe even an order. Why does it happen? Why do things happen like that? So a story that I think typifies that in a sort of personal way is I have two boys. My father's two grandchildren, Alexander, the older boy, and the younger boy is Cameron. And anyone that's met them know that they're huge boys that tower over me. So they, obviously tower over my father and even more so over my mother. But they absolutely adored their Ajah. And later in life, as he started to lose his hair, they embraced the fact that he had this smooth, bald head. And as little kids, they would come and they would rub his head, and they just loved to sit, for hours on end, just playing with his head. But the randomness of the universe theme. So my older boy, Alexander, was quite an athlete, and so was my younger boy. But my older boy played football and was this hulking 6'5", almost 300-pound lineman. And when he was getting ready to leave high school and we were looking at colleges, we took our first recruiting trip to the Midwest to some of the colleges there to meet with their football coaches, to see if he wanted to play football and go to college. We went to Northwestern University, my alma mater. We went to the University of Illinois. We went to to University of Michigan, and then we went to Notre Dame. And those were the four schools that we visited. All of them are great academic institutions. All of them have phenomenal football programs. And, my son was very eager to play at the next level, college level. And the coaches there were eager to have him, this big kid, perhaps come and play for them. So when we got done with Notre Dame, we were driving back to Chicago, and the thought came into my head before we even got to the border of Illinois, Indiana. I said, let's stop by the University of Chicago. We have some time before our flight, and we'll just stop. So Alexander, normally, if you know my son, he's very easygoing, but he doesn't like to visit things and do things that really aren't part of his plan. But this time he said, okay, yeah, let's stop by there. So we stopped by the University of Chicago and we walked around campus. We had some time. And as it happens, as we were walking around the campus and I was pointing things out to him, and he's wearing his varsity jacket from high school. The football coach from the University of Chicago happened to be in that area and saw him and thought, oh, he's here for an official visit. Let me go introduce myself to him. So he introduced himself to my son. And my son, was very polite and said hello to him. And that was that. We left. We're getting onto the flight. And I was eager to find out which school do you want to go to? Northwestern, which was my alma mater. I was sort of pushing that. Michigan, Notre Dame, University of Illinois. Do you want to see some more colleges? He said, Dad, something just felt right about the University of Chicago. How about that? I said, okay, all right, we can think about it. And now he's a bright kid, but he was not University of Chicago bright. But he got in. And the randomness and the reason I think for that is because the universe, even you scientists can't explain this, has a plan for us. And that plan was that my son go to the same college my dad worked at. So that's my story.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Arvind.
Arvind, once upon a time, University of Chicago had a great football team. They were called the Midway Monsters.
Yes, it
They
did.
won the championship. They used to play with Harvard and the elite Ivy League schools. And they were the champions in 1929. I still have a picture of we always get that, Midway Monsters.
Trophy winner was there.
Yeah, so it is now, of course, it's full of geeks. But yeah, that is wonderful that he went to University of Chicago. I'm really proud of him.
Yeah, but the geeks now play football. So that's good. I got to see Arvind from a 9th floor location of playing the football. I mean, not Arvind, Alex.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of Asians joining this also Ivy League schools. The football sports is all going down and down.
No, that's not true.
Well, when the University of Chicago's fortunes in football went down, they went down quite fast. In the 30s, I think the sole highlight was that the first Heisman Trophy winner, Jay Berwanger, was playing for the University of Chicago. But the next thing we know about the football stadium is that that's where the first nuclear sustained chain reaction
Yes.
occurred.
Yeah, the Henry Moore statue of
Right.
an inverted German helmet.
Yeah, the
That was the
Regenstein
site
Library
where,
was once the football stadium.
yeah, that was where the first chain reaction was started. Yeah, now it is all part of the library.
And Arvind, I wanted to say I had, you invited us kindly to the dinner at after Alex's graduation, which I think is the last time I saw Dr. Aithal. And I guess it was COVID had happened at that point. Is that right?
Yes.
And I remember going up to him and saying, Alex, I'm really sorry that COVID affected your draft status as badly as it did, which brought a nice big laugh from him. But it sounded like it was the place for him. He seemed very happy there.
Thank you. Anuradha, you want to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you for this. We really appreciate it. I'm not much of a speech maker or a storyteller like my brother or my father, but one of the things that he really, really, really enjoyed the last 20 years of his life was his writing. And he really enjoyed reading other people's work and also writing. Mom was instrumental also in his writing. He would write something and he would say, I don't know if this phrase is correct. And she would help with that. So thank you for everything. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for jogging some of the memories for me. He would be down here. I don't know what kind of joke he would be making, but at this point he would be making some sort of a joke to kind of ease the humor or ease just the situation and to make it more fun for everybody. So thank you so much. I know Mom really appreciates this. So thank you.
Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you, Lakshmi. And also as Nalini said, and as I think somebody else said, even though physically he has left, Aithal lives in all of our heart permanently.
Hello, Ramesh. I don't know if Ralph would like to say a few words. Ralph, Mrunalini's husband was sitting there.
Yeah, I had said some.
Okay.
I guess the other thing the only other memory I have, Anuradha, we visited your place when our daughter started at Scripps College. And
yeah.
Your parents were there then too,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
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 And so here we come in with this young lady who's just been on a get acquainted camping trip in the mountains outside of Claremont, covered in grime. So we shoveled her off to the shower and just had a great time
Eating dosas.
and just the way the Dr. Aithal worked, there's so much we can remember certain things, but there was a constant patter and a constant good humor that just pervaded every occasion with him. And so then when she came out clean, that was an occasion for more good humor. So I can say nothing more that hasn't been said several times.
He's left us with great memories and a great
Thanks.
example to live by.
You know, and I think you're right, Mina. I don't know who said this, so forgive me for not mentioning you in person, but one of you said this just so. My dad will always live on. My dad will always live on in my memory and my brother's memory and his grandchildren's memory. It's hard to come home and not see him here, but his presence is always here.
Oh my God, what happened?
Yeah, so thank you again.
That's so true.
Cup of coffee to Dr. Aithal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. I think I will stop recording now. Is it okay?
Yes,
Yeah, I think
thank
that's
you.
fine.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Subrao.
Thank you.